So, welcome to our breathing space meditation for today, the somethingth of June, I think about the 15th of June. As always, this is our community practice on Zoom and also a little recording for YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can always subscribe. You know what they do in those YouTube videos, like find the subscribe button. There's usually one on the screen at the end of the video. And if you're interested in joining us in our community practice live on Zoom, just pop me an email. The email's also in the description under the video. For those of us who are here live, I'm talking here as an introduction to give us all the chance just to find our postures. and watching people on the screen with getting their blankets organized and lying down, sitting, organizing their drinks and everything. Always nice to have a little drink of water handy. So I think we're all about ready to start. So today we are, as always, because we're going through this as a series, we're continuing our working through Jon Kabat-Zinn's book, Falling Awake. We're not quite halfway through yet. Today I'm incorporating some practice from two chapters. One is called Touchscape, and the other is called In Touch with Your Skin. So it's really very much an embodied practice today, kind of like a body scan, but with a little bit more guidance on how to tune into touch. So let's begin. Before we start with Jon Kabat-Zinn and before we really get into our practice, it's always nice just to be a little bit grounded and settled, to recognize that we're arriving into practice. So I invite you to just be aware that you are in a posture right now. We're going to be talking a lot today, or perceiving a lot today, the sense of touch. So as we come into posture, if you're sitting, perhaps feeling your weight distributed down your spine from the pelvis up to the neck, getting a sense of that balance that gives us a posture that feels both dignified and effortless, balanced, present. If you're lying, just beginning to sense into all the places where your body is held and supported by the bed, the mat, the cushion. Turning attention inward, maybe allowing the eyes to close or the gaze to soften. And arriving into practice, often there's this awareness of the transition between the world of doing and problem solving and acting, taking action. And now this awareness that we're dropping into a space where you have nothing to do. Where there's no action required, simply awareness. Simply awareness. Awareness of arriving into practice. Just noticing what happens in the mind, in the body, as we open this space for mindful presence. And perhaps there's an awareness of a particular energy, the legacy of a day, a week, a year arriving with you into practice right now. Just being aware of that resonance that's held in mind and body, but then shifting our relationship to it. Instead of listening to mind and body for instructions, what should I do next? Just listening, just being, just observing, opening this connection between the soul, the body, the mind in the present moment. Dropping a little deeper into practice, perhaps more of an awareness of body, allowing mind to just go into the background, inviting curiosity into physical sensation, breathing, heartbeat, touch. Perhaps an awareness, as we practiced recently, of airspace, airscape, the temperature of the room perceived through the skin. And also the different points of contact between body, chair, mat, or bed. Maybe an awareness of the movement of breathing, maybe meeting the breath for the first time today. It's always been there, all through your life. Maybe now is the first time that we're consciously present with the breathing, feeling that movement in the body. As we feel that movement in belly and chest, and maybe even in mouth or nose. Becoming more aware of the whole body that is breathing, the bones, the muscles, the inner organs. And if we can, dropping underneath words to the language of the body, which is all about pulsation or tingling or temperature, pressure, all the different sensations of being alive. And if today this is the practice for you, perhaps today you just want to stay here in this place with the breathing and this kind of open connection with whatever comes up in body, and just rest with this practice. Allow the rest to just be background noise. But if you want to continue with our touchscape practice today, I'm going to begin with the opening paragraph of the chapter Touchscape, where John Kabat-Zinn says, "It's not just the air that touches us, although its touch is constant. Our body touches every chair it sits on, every piece of floor or ground it stands on, every surface it lies on, every piece of clothing in contact with the skin, every tool our hands wield, everything we attempt to grasp or lift, propel, receive, or deliver." So I'm going to stop guiding right now. Just invite you into this space with the question really of connection to touch. If we invite that question, what can I be aware of through the sense of touch in bone, in muscle, in skin, inside and outside the body? What comes into awareness? And through this awareness, can we begin to sense our place in the space that exists around us? the sense that we are not only touching that space, but that the space is holding us, touching us. It's a dynamic and connected relationship. We're integrated and alive in this dynamic space. If you find yourself thinking about the space or thinking about the practice, well done for noticing that the busy mind is always wanting to muscle in and pull us into action, into doing something or planning, evaluating, judging. So you can say to your thinking mind, aha, I see you there. I see what you're trying to do. But right now, if we can, let's invite our focus always back down into just the body. Right? We spend so much time listening to the mind, acting and doing. Let's make this practice, just this time that we have, dedicated to listening to the body, being with the many different ways that we might relate to touch within and around the body. Later on in his chapter, John Kabat-Zinn says, the sense of touch is actually, from a neurological point of view, a number of different senses, all subsumed under the same word. Sensing the pressure of contact is one. Sensing the temperature of that contact is another. Sensing contact that is so intense it causes us pain, yet another. As is sensing a caress so loving that it gives us pleasure. So for the next part of our practice, again, if we can stay in a place without striving, just an invitation, a curious opening of the mind, of the awareness to any different or the many different ways that we perceive the world through touch. As you do that, you might imagine all the different networks that are being fired up, those that perceive temperature, those that perceive texture, those that perceive the gentle kiss of a breath of air on the skin, those that sense the weight of the body held and supported by a chair or a mat or a bed. When physical sensation comes into awareness, we can turn towards with a bit of gentle curiosity, just rest there, linger, and allow all the different layers of sensation to unfold, to open up. Perhaps for the next few moments we could find somewhere that there is a sense of touch that tells us that our body is supported and held by a surface right now. Can we discern how some parts of the body hold a lot of weight and others maybe just enough to maintain posture or balance? So can we discern how the weight is distributed around those different points of contact? Simply by sensing into the touch of body, floor, chair, surface. And perhaps let's play a little game now and see if we can perceive any touch that is very, very subtle, very delicate. Maybe a touch that even feels like a caress or a kiss on the skin. Maybe the touch of clothing, textiles, maybe the breath of wind on the skin. Maybe the movement of air in and out of the nose. Maybe the touch of eyelids or the touch of lips. And perhaps we could even perceive messages from the body that tell us there are places that might be a little bit tense, where there might be holding or tension in muscles or joints. We can discern the differences in intensity or sensation, the burning, a pulling, a tugging, tightness, or something else. And as you connect to these with some compassion, perhaps, just breathing a little bit of kindness and softness into these places, noticing what happens as they receive that compassion. as they receive that invitation to softness. As we turn to discomfort with a sense of kindness rather than a sense of frustration, with a warm heart. John Kabat-Zinn says in his chapter, another dimension of the sense of touch involves our ability to sense the body inwardly, to know, for instance, where your hands are without moving them or looking at them, or what the carriage of the body is in any moment. As we have already noted, this sensory capacity that we all have, this ability to sense into the body, is known as proprioception, the sense of knowing where the body is spatially, orienting within the field of the body and sensing its movements and its intentions. And he adds in the footnote another term, interoception, is used by neuroscientists to designate the sense of the physiological condition of the entire body, its continual regulation to maintain inner balance or homeostasis. So we can, in our practice, sense inwards, proprioception, awareness of the body in the world, knowing if you're lying or sitting, knowing how your limbs and your posture are arranged, knowing where your toes are, your fingertips, knowing whether you're right side up or upside down. And we have also this sense of knowing where we begin, where we end. The skin as this interface between what is inside and what is outside. A dynamic interface. And then we have this sense of interoception, the awareness that the body is alive and dynamic, breathing, heartbeats, digestion, the autonomic nervous system, everything that we learn about in our MBSR course. Can we sense into the workings of the body today through awareness of heartbeat, pulsing, maybe seeing if we can find different parts of the body where we're aware of the pulsing of the circulation. And very closely connected to that, the sense of breathing. And there's always that expectation when we come to practice that we want everything to be calm. The breathing should be a certain way. But sometimes when we come to practice, we step into this dynamic process of continuous self-regulation. And if you're in a particularly warm room like I am right now, the body is working very hard to keep cool. I can feel my heart, my breathing, my skin, my whole body is really working quite hard to regulate my body temperature. So where you are, remember that we drop into mindful meditation to find what is here right now, this dynamic moment where your body is working within the environment that you're in. At this moment, at this time, it knows what's happening around you, emotionally within you, and your body is dynamic in regulating around that. So as you tune into heartbeat and breathing, maybe even digestion, we can touch the emotions within us. We can touch the energy within the body. And the invitation here is with kindness and with acceptance. Allowing things to be known, to be felt, just as they are. Can we sense into the bones? The bones are living, tuning in, connecting to anywhere in the body where we might be aware of the bones that hold the skeleton, the posture, the joints. Give the framework of the body, but with from within this really strong living structure at the heart of the body. Bones that move around the ribs. Bones that have very subtle movement in them, like the bones of the pelvis and the sacroiliac, that allow for movement as we walk. All the bones of the spine that support the weight of the body, allow us to bend or twist. Bones of the jaw allow us to articulate, to speak, to eat, to smile, to yawn. Even an awareness of the tiniest of bones in the body, the bones in the ear. We can sense them through our understanding that we are a certain way up. If we tilt our head, we can feel that change. There's the little bones in the ear that we can touch through our awareness. And without opening our eyes, can we get a sense of the large, long bones of the thighs? where they connect to hips and knees. The sense of these really big, strong bones within the body. Can we connect to muscle? Is there a sense of muscle? Muscle, muscle relaxed, or muscle strong, muscle tired, or muscle rested. Even if we can't feel every single muscle in the body, can we just open an invitation and see which muscles would like to be listened to right now? Which muscles have something to say? In the chapter after talking about touch, John Kabat-Zinn talks about being in touch with your skin. And I'll read you the first page of this chapter. He says, the skin is our biggest sensory organ. Someone calculated that in an adult, it measures approximately 20 square feet of surface area if laid out flat, and weighs about 9 pounds. We tend to label the skin as the organ of touch, even though, as we've just experienced in our practice, we're touched by the world through all our other senses, and even within the organs and the body itself. But what the word touch most evokes for most of us is intimately tied to our skin. This is also true when we use the word feel in certain ways, for it's by way of the skin that what we think of as physical contact is made and felt. It's here where the simultaneous bidirectional reciprocity of our contact with the world is most apparent. For we cannot touch something without being touched by it in the very same instant. We cannot be touched without touching. Walking barefoot, our feet kiss the earth with every step, and the earth kisses right back. Of course, if we are out of touch, we won't feel it, even though the contact is undeniable. And as we know, the best way to be out of touch is for our mind to be distracted or preoccupied, caught up in ruminations, in the stream of thoughts and emotions, in our own self-involvements, as is so often the case, and therefore unavailable for direct experience in any moment. In this digital age, we are at risk for being permanently and perpetually distracted and self-distracting, requiring more presence of mind than ever before to stay in touch with what is most important. Hence, the increasing importance of mindfulness. So in our practice, yeah, we're always aware of things that pull us away from our focus of attention. Maybe even more so when we come into practice. And that's a good thing. To be aware of distraction, we have the agency of choice. We can choose to be compassionate with ourselves, knowing that the human mind is just like a little puppy. It frequently is distracted and wanders off to investigate the next thought, the next sound. And our mindfulness practice with kindness just gently acknowledges and then makes that choice. Right now, I want to come back to awareness of the body, the skin, the bones, instead of that tendency to always interact with the world through our eyes, through screens and words, or our ears through podcasts or audiobooks. See if we can interact with life right now, the present moment, just through touch, skin, bone, body, presence. Begin to notice that moment by moment there is just so much going on in the body, so many changes, changes of pressure in sinuses, changes of temperature on the skin, changes in heartbeat, in breathing. Whatever posture we're in, changes in muscle tension or changes in tingling or tickling. So we can just rest in that moment by moment touchscape. I was talking earlier about watching my fish in the tank and how there's never a dull moment. And being with your body right now, there's infinitely more going on than you would ever see in an aquarium. But can we connect to it? Can we sense into it? And can we just be with it? As we connect to body, to skin, of course, we're living beings with emotions, reactions, judgments. These are normal. Just because we're focusing on the body doesn't stop those from arising within us. And John Kabat-Zinn acknowledges, the skin is really closely connected to our emotions. We know, he says, that the skin is intimately tied to our emotions. If we let them, things can get under our skin. We blush with embarrassment, we're flushed with pride, we turn white with fear, pale with grief, green with envy. And later on, he says, when we're mindful of sensations in the skin, it can feel like our mind is inhabiting our skin. Mind and skin are not separate, except when the mind goes to sleep. You could even say with some accuracy that the skin is an aspect of the mind. Later in the chapter, he says, the skin is a sensory world unto itself. It's never devoid of sensation, even when it doesn't seem to be touching anything, for it's always touching something by virtue of being an interface. It has its own sensory tones at all times. It's always in touch. The question is, are we? Can we, can we be in touch with our own skin? Can we be in touch with our own body, with our own emotions, with our own mind? So let's just drop into 5 minutes or so of just silent personal practice. Just drop that question in. Can we be in touch with skin, with body, and through this in touch with emotions and mind? And for the next 5 minutes or so of our silent practice, instead of asking the question, can I be in touch with body and skin? Can we ask, what is our relationship to what we find? The invitation is always acceptance, but mindfulness is about being with what is here. So, whatever our relationship to body, to skin right now, even to practice, can we accept what is here? The living and dynamic, emotional, judgmental, striving, craving, avoiding, full catastrophe of the human mind in all of its glory. What do we find as we sit with body and breath and thoughts and feelings? And for the last 2 minutes or so, if we do get some thoughts that just won't let us go, can we kind of mentally reach out and touch them as if they were just little soap bubbles floating through the air? Just go, I see you. Boop. Give them a little touch. What happens when you touch a soap bubble? What happens when you touch a thought? And say, I see you. So we're coming to the end of our formal practice for today, but as I always remind you, practice never ends. We're in this skin 24/7. You've been in the skin since the day you were born. It's with us all through our life. Technically, the cells are constantly renewed, but there's a continuity there of genetic coding and which genes are activated or which ones are dormant. So we have this sense of continuity and change in skin, in body, going throughout our life. Any moments of any day with just a mindful breath, we can connect and touch body, muscle, bone with our awareness, with our presence. We can connect to the embodiment of who we are. We can allow the body to know it's being heard, it's being listened to. We can be aware of the self-regulation process that's constantly going on, the activation, the relaxation, the energy rising, the energy depleting. We can be aware of our interface with the world through skin, through touch, through temperature, through pressure. And that brings alive our awareness of emotional landscape, weatherscape, and mental activity. So, whatever you take from today's practice, maybe as you go through the week ahead, just seeing if you can drop into this sense of touch and touchscape, all the different ways that we've connected through touch today. And maybe write it in a journal. And you have this recording on YouTube if you want to come back to the practice at some point through the week. I'm going to end our recording there and give us an opportunity now, if you like, to just come into a little bit of discussion, maybe about what today's practice brought alive in you. So well done for doing your practice today.